Happy Victory Monday to Jaguars fans. Proof of concept has been accomplished. The Jaguars are good where it counts, and we'll tell you why on today's episode.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is, in fact, your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. I am Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast that you can find wherever you get your podcast each and every day. Make sure you tap in to that location so you do not miss an episode. And shout out to our everydayers that join us each and every day here on Locked On Jaguars. Man, y'all know what it is. We appreciate you. And if you're new here, well, guess what? That means we'll have to make you an everyday or two. Thank you for listening to Locked On NFL and Locked On Jaguars. Reminder that you can follow our show and hear new episodes ad-free daily on Amazon Music. So go and check that out. Man, listen to me. The Jacksonville Jaguars are 4-1. They slayed the Dragon on Monday Night Football in front of a whole bunch of people, got everybody talking about this team. And there's a lot that we need to unpack here about this team. And normally we unpack stuff and we're unpacking and it's not happy stuff. But today it's all good stuff. We've enjoyed the win, but now we got to keep on pushing because they have another tough game coming up this week. I'm going to tell you what we're talking about today. We're going to end up talking about Trevor getting fixed. Trevor's getting fixed in real time. It's like they're undoing some stuff. And it's a hard watch sometimes, but it works. Here's what we're going to discuss in the middle. They didn't burn the onions. And by they, I mean Shad Khan and Tony Baselli. They got it right, man. They got it right. I'm going to talk now, though, about proof of concept. This is a proof of concept game. And what I mean by that is when the Jacksonville Jaguars played earlier this year, even the game where they lost against the Bengals on a bad play, playing poorly against Carolina in spurts and won that one. Going out to San Francisco and hanging on and hanging on and hanging on. This team, regardless of who they played this year, have made you question, okay, is this something that's real? Is it smoke and mirrors? Is it unsustainable? Is this just who they are? Are they going to eventually, when they play a good team that lines up in front of them, Houston came in here struggling. If they play a good team that lines up in front of them, what's going to happen? What happened is they got down 14-0 to one of the best teams in modern day history, and not only football or in sports. And I'm sitting there thinking, here we go. This could get ugly. And mind you, I'm a Florida State fan, and I'm coming off of them being behind 28-3 to Miami, saying, okay, we ain't there yet, right? So my mind is for the second time in 72 hours or so that I was going to have to convince and tell myself, all right, man, we still got another step. We ain't quite there yet. The only thing that could save them is if the plus side of whatever I was thinking when I was asking that question, okay, is this sustainable or is this not? The only way it's sustainable is they just turned into this gritty bunch, and this is just a part of their DNA and who they are, right? That was my thought process coming up to last night's game and up to that point where it was 14-0. I said, the only thing that's going to save them is they're going to have to go full superhero, take their shirts off, put their cape and their mask on, and come back outside as that gritty, dirty, weird roller coaster looking team that just always shows up. And that's exactly what they did. The toughness that we wondered, that when it goes from being the 49ers or the Texans or the Panthers or even the Bengals, when it turns into the Chiefs or the Eagles or the Rams or these other teams like that, who are you going to be when that happens? And now we might as well put the Colts in there and the Bills and stuff like that. You can't put the Ravens in there no more because they stink this year. Who are you going to be in those moments? Because who you are in those moments is going to define whether or not we're going to believe that there's proof of concept that this is working and you're not just beating teams that you're better than. and you saw it last night. It happened. It manifests itself right in front of your face. They are for real. This ain't no joke. They don't have to look in the, I think the Jay-Z lyric and plus is in the Bible somewhere. Like, they don't have to look in the mirror to see who they are. They can turn into that group of guys whenever they feel like it. The question now is, for me, is that going to be a characteristic that they have to, do they have to get dirty in order to play a complete, clean game? Or are they still learning and processing and progressing into cleaning up some of the things that make them that dirty team? But if things do get down and dirty, like, oh, we got to play in Buffalo in the snow, or a bad field somewhere in the playoffs in Pittsburgh, or it's frigid cold and we're in Cleveland. Okay, that ain't gonna happen, but it's frigid cold and we're somewhere where we ain't got no business doing, or we're playing in a Super Bowl and all of a sudden it starts raining and the game gets nasty. Who's gonna show up? I want gritty, dirty Duval Jaguars to show up. That's who I want to show up. So it's always good to have that as a part of who you are. The Chiefs are that way. That's how they win a lot of close games. The Eagles are that way. It's always good to know that you have that. And the way that you have that is who this team has acquired, the type of people that they have in leadership, the ability to recognize talent that can help you win, to onboard young players, to pick the right veterans, to get the people that have the correct mindset, to make trades for people like Travis Hunter and then have him be the highest rated offensive and defensive player in one game, and even have that manifest itself, to be the kind of team that can shut out the noise and just put on when you have to put on when you get on the grass. Oh, I'm getting more and more confident right now that that's exactly what they're going to be and who they're going to be. And that's why I believe this is a proof of concept game. They had to tell you and show you that Devin Lloyd it ain't about no contract here. It's about finally putting that kid in a position to be successful like he's supposed to be. Very similar to Zach Bond, who the Saints didn't want him, and they were one of the worst teams in the league. And he goes to Philly, a team that's really, really good under Vic Fangio, who, by the way, Anthony Campanile worked for in Miami as a linebackers coach and probably learned a little bit about how you're supposed to use people like Devin Lloyd. And all of a sudden, there's no coincidence that Devin Lloyd is now, if the season ended today, he'd be Defensive Player of the Year and a first-team All-Pro and a very, very rich man. To know that, to go out and get Dion, I keep calling that man Dion Lewis, to go out and get Jordan Lewis, to get Eric Murray, to believe in Monteric Brown like they did. And he came in last night and he was one of the, I think, the second highest ranked defender, him or second or third. And don't get me started on last night. It wasn't Bashaw Tootin. Last night it was LaQuint Allen, not only on special teams, but it was LaQuint Allen on blitz pickups. If you watch the highlights, man, he stopped. When Trevor Lawrence made big plays, LaQuint Allen was right there bumping and thumping and throwing people around. I'm telling you, man, this team is made of the right stuff because they have the right people, and that means that they didn't burn the onions. And if you watch Locked On Jaguars or listen to Locked On Jaguars over the years, I've often referenced teams that made a mistake very early in their process as burning onions, and then them trying to get that burnt onion taste out of that pot. Then they keep adding all of this unnecessary stuff, trying to mask their real problems. The Jaguars didn't burn the onions. The onions, the mirepoix, as they call it, when you first start cooking a dish, is your flavor base. I'm going to call my boys the flavor bases. Tony Boselli, James Gladstone, and Liam Cohen. The mirepoix of, that's funny, of this Jacksonville Jaguars recipe. I'm going to tell you why they got that right in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, man, today's show is brought to you and sponsored by our friends over at Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Playing Prize Picks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projection, like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon's rushing for touchdowns or now even Devin Lloyd getting interceptions. That's right. You can do all of that and you're in the game. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code Locked On NFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Locked On NFL for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, rolling it down here on Locked On Jaguars. It is your team every day. We thank you for making us your first listen. We're talking about proof of concept and whether or not the things that they have done and the foundation that they put in place here in Jacksonville is one that you can actually see. You ain't got to go back and redo a whole bunch of things. There's not going to have to be this reloading and this retooling and a change of. There's not going to be some press conference where they change the core of who they are a year and a half in because they realize that they made some mistakes in what they believe. That is not true with Jacksonville. Jacksonville, they're built for the right stuff. From EVP Tony Baselli to GM James Gladstone and the choice of Liam Cohen, and then how he chose to build his staff. And I know there's some people saying we're going to lose Anthony Campanile after 1 year. We love Coach Camp, and that's good for him if he gets a head coaching job. I'm not going to sit here and be paranoid about that because remember, the staff that was built by Liam, you're going to be able to either promote from within or go out and get whoever was next on your list, whether it's Durante Jones or whoever interviewed for this job. They were on that napkin in Liam's pocket for a reason. So we're not going to get ahead of ourselves and worry about that. And if Campanile gets a job, that's because the Jaguars made a deep playoff run or they played well all year. So that would also bode well for this franchise. But sticking with those three, and before we even extend it off to the choices that they made, they're built from the right stuff. And not only are they individually the truth of what they do, that thing that they talked about and spoke about, alignment and being as one and having one voice of the team, and that's Liam. And you notice as the season has gone on, you've seen and heard more of him because they're going to be a coach and player-centric team that sort of has one voice and one way of talking and one way of doing things, and I respect that. When you see one of them, I think you see all. It's to the point where they're like the triplets, right? I can't see one without seeing or understanding the influence of the other two. And that's the part that I believe inserts some sort of DNA into your entire operation that goes down to people being accountable on the field and trusting each other. I've even felt it in the media relations, all of it, everything. When you have that in your organization and you don't have, and I'm going to say this, you don't have someone right, wrong, or indifferent that has progressed through their NFL career as a survivor or someone who's trying to prove that someone else made a mistake by firing them. Take it how you want. And having this mentality that, well, I got to protect myself or this person didn't do it right. The reason I'm harping on this is because when I said in the past that they burnt the onions, just go back to when things have started going wrong at any point during the Jaguars. And this is why I use all of those things that made y'all have PTSD when it comes to football. This is why I use that to try to flip it around and show you how what they're doing now is so different. How many times in the last, not just this past regime, and not just, and the regime prior to Trent Baalke, they had like 3 different regimes. They had pre-Tom Coughlin, they had the Gus Bradley pre-Tom Coughlin, then they had Tom Coughlin, Doug Marrone, and then after that they had the end and the transition through Urban and now here. And think about when Urban was here, even that year. Think about the difference in what they were saying versus what they were doing on the field, or how it was being communicated, how we were speaking about it, how you felt about it. And then when the results came in, how you never got answers because people seem to be saying different stuff, kind of CYA, cover your butt. Just when you have that from the very beginning, and it all stems from Shad not cutting bait and hiring people and keeping some people and bringing some people in. See, because when you do that, you're trying to fix problems. And you got people that come from different walks of football life, and you think that having this buffet of all of these different people is good. Now, sometimes just cooking one dish is really, really good. And what happens is that permeates all the way through and all the way down to the way that they play on the field, with everybody looking like they were looking out for themselves. And when people start looking out for themselves, that's when you get personal foul penalties. That's when you get all of these things. And that's when you sit there and try to mentally deconstruct what's wrong with the team. And you get somebody like me that comes on here and does a podcast and say, it's deeper than that. It's bigger than that. Don't just fire one person, which is why I kept telling y'all that just getting rid of Press Taylor was not the answer. Do y'all finally see what I'm talking about? Focusing on one thing allowed too many off-ramps for people who were trying to cover themselves to say, yep, fans are right. We're going to fix it right here. And not that people listen to fans, but you put too much of that stuff out in the air and not really challenge the constructs. The thing that made me, when they kept Trent Baalke initially, say Shad Khan is the worst on GM, it ain't had nothing to do with Trent. Nothing. And a lot of people used to make that personal, and Brodog used to always comment on everything that I said and whatever. We can figure out who that is later. It was never about that. It's about them onions being burnt, man. And y'all just needing to start this dish all over again and make sure that you cook it slow with the right ingredients, the right way, so it doesn't char and burn again. And we need a proof of concept to see, do they have that foundation? I'm not telling you they're going to go run off and go win 10 Super Bowls, but I'm also not telling you they won't. Because everything that they were supposed to do from the time that they got here to right now, we have to wait and see if it's going to work. But even in the past, I would give people the benefit of the doubt. So I gave them the benefit of the doubt. And I just sat back and I watched just like everybody else. And it was finally last night. This is a big game. And this is why I said this is a big moment, because of the lights, all of these things. I wanted all of those extra things because I wanted to see if the players could compartmentalize and not focus on it. So Liam Cohen, I was in the car listening to the post game that they did with the flagship radio station, of course, the Jaguars network, with JP Shad. I think it was Bucky Brooks. And he said, you know what happened at the beginning? They were jacked. I didn't have to say anything to them. They were ready to go, man. That locker room was lit and on fire. He said, and at first we came out and we played like they were too excited and too anxious. They got down 14-0. So what kicks in? Your character, your flavor base, who you are. You put yourself in a tough situation. You've done it before, but now you're doing it against them. They're the team that usually beats and batters people when it gets, and folks already said that, and always say that they have the referees, and it looked like early on they did. What are you going to do? You know what you're going to do? You're going to do what the Jaguars did. You're going to stand tall, and you're going to be exactly who you are. Nothing more than who you are, nothing more than yourself. Just start doing the things that you're supposed to do. And to me, the biggest recipient of that is Devin Lloyd. And outside of Devin Lloyd, it's the quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, because there's something going on with Trevor Lawrence right now that I thought I'd never see. And if I really think back, this has happened recently to Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold to a certain extent is going on right now with Daniel Jones. I often thought that this would happen with Jameis Winston. And what that is it's a very, very talented player who is being deconstructed and reconstructed right in real time in front of your eyes. I'll tell you why I believe that. And I think Trevor's going to get fixed, and why Liam Cohen and the crew were so patient about it. We'll talk about it in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Mazda. That's right, Mazda, man. There's a lot going on right now, man, with these cars, man. But one thing that you can believe in is that Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. It's the consistency for me. They deliver confidence with every ride with more IIHS safety pick plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breath work, athletes sweat all the details, and Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but routine drives, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. I know what's going on with Mazda, man, and I'm telling you something. You need to get with Mazda and move and be moved. Third and final segment here on Locked On Jaguars, where it is your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen. We were talking about getting Trevor fixed and how he is in real time being deconstructed and reconstructed. So the benefit of bad coaching, whether that started in college or not, can be argued, because there are a lot of people that believe Clemson didn't necessarily prepare Trevor Lawrence for the National Football League. And there was a lot of debate and discussion about that. And I think it kind of rang out to be true, because it came from some people that really, really know the game and understand what's going to happen, have to happen. That's different from the deconstruction in our mind about what we thought Trevor Lawrence was going to be versus who he actually is turning out to be. Like, you think he's going to be Tom Brady or Peyton Manning, and he's turning out to be sort of Ben Roethlisberger-ish. Is that a word? But you know what I mean. Why it don't look a certain way, but you can't ever count them out. They're going to do some quirky athletic things. They can make every throw. They can be cerebral, but that ain't really who they are. You are seeing him reconstructed. Just like mentally, you're having to reconstruct all of that pretty Prince of the Power and all of this old crazy stuff that people were saying, to this rugged Georgia boy who plays in the sandbox, gets dirty, goes and shoots basketball with his friends across the railroad tracks, comes back home, helps his dad mow the lawn, clean the house. Go in, go get your bath, man, and come on back and eat some beans and rice and cornbread. That's what Trevor is, man, and we got to understand that. All of this stuff about flowing locks and all of it. Nah, man. Trevor Lawrence is Duval. Trevor Lawrence is the dude, man. He's that cool cat that you grew up with, that he's cut from a different cloth. He got some scratches on his elbows. So while we're in our mind fixing that, we're watching it be changed and influenced by the fact that they're fixing him and undoing a whole bunch of bad coaching, but they're doing it while he's playing. And the reason why they allow that is because of his talent. And you see it. That's why you see the highs, and I believe that's why you see the lows. The highs are the talent. It's like a left-handed pitcher that doesn't have control, that hasn't been coached really, really well, but he can throw at 102 miles per hour. So you know what they're going to do? We're going to stick him out there. We're going to make him a closer. And then once he's our closer, we're going to teach him how to be a middle reliever. And then he's in our mind, he's a starter. But if we throw him out there right now to be a starter, there ain't no way we're going to get 5.5 innings out of him. So you know what we're going to do? He's going to be our closer. Then we're going to teach him. We're going to work our way back. We're going to bring you in the ninth inning and let you finish the game. Then that means you're going to just be talented in the heat of the moment. And you've seen that several times this year. Then we're going to pull you back and we're going to show you how to get you're going to be the setup guy and the closer. So now you're not just going to be Dennis Eckersley. You're going to be Mariano Rivera and Dennis Eckersley, right? And then we're going to work you back that way. And eventually you're going to realize I ain't just pitching one inning anymore. I'm pitching 3. And that means we can look at you now and say, okay, you got about another inning to go. We're going to start you as our 5th starter. Eventually, you're going to be our number 1. But we're deconstructing a whole bunch of bad stuff. So when you see Trevor Lawrence making boneheaded plays, to me, I try to look at it like this. I hope that's that stuff leaving his system. And even if it isn't, you know the good plays are coming. That is why we call it the Trevor Lawrence experience. That's why I call it a roller coaster. That's why last night on the post-game show, I kind of referred it to, I guess this is what doing shrooms must feel like when you watch him play. And everybody is talking about the ebb and the flow and the ups and the downs and how quirky it looks and how weird somebody can say Trevor Lawrence play like you're drunk. And I thought it was funny, but we're seeing them lean in on his talent, allow those mistakes to be played out in real time. And I think he's either getting it out of his system or he's figuring a way, and maybe they're learning how to manage it, right? Like maybe they need to start running the ball in the second and third quarter. Just throw it in the first and the fourth quarter. I don't know, but we're watching this thing change like David Banner changes into the Incredible Hulk. What we're doing is seeing the Incredible Hulk change back into David Banner. And what happens is when you figure out that balance and when you can figure out how to control those emotions, and this coaching staff and their patience can coach around it, coach with it, coach through it, and use it for the betterment of the team. One is with complementary football, all three levels, special teams, defense, offense, and the way the defense is right now. Now you're getting this identity. So you're seeing the Trent Dilfer part go out of the window. Like, we're going to win this game in spite of you. No. We need you. At some point, we need you. Like I said, we need you. We need you to stop being Superman when you're in the office. That's when you're Clark Kent. But when we need you to be Superman, when something's going on in that alley, that's when we need you to step up. And this is a tough football team built on toughness. Travis Hunter even said it. It's a tough football team built on toughness. You can't have a tough football team and then have sunshine at quarterback. So you're seeing Trevor Lawrence change. You're seeing the mindset and the way that you look at him change. And you're also seeing him change for the better because eventually the talent is going to give him DNA and experiences that's going to make all of those mistakes go away. And even if they don't go away, it ain't going to hurt you because it's just something you're going to be willing to live with. This team is the truth, man. This team is really Duval County. Think about it. First time we can match our identity up with the product we sit on the field and see on the field. And I have said forever, it's one thing to say Duval, it's another thing to embody it and be that. And now we have our own brand of football. We have our own brand of football. And we trust that the people, they're going to make the right decisions when they trade Tank Bigsby, whose fans really like Tank. And then they keep Devin and they feature ETN. And then they go out and they value Trayvon and they take Devin Lloyd and put him in position. We got to have a conversation about Tyson Campbell. We'll probably do that later on in the week. But even with that, that's a part of what it is. And Tyson probably does things on tape that we don't notice. I think he just does things on tape that we do notice, and it gets on our nerves. But in any event, the Jaguars are 4-1. You heard me. They should be 5-0, and I want y'all to be greedy just like that. They're 4-1. Big game against Seattle. Better team than you think. They got to enjoy this victory. They got to move forward and get a bunch of stuff out of their system, man. They got a lot of banged up guys. We got to get the injury report today to see exactly how far in the well with their depth they're going to have to dig. But whatever it is, man, you can find out about it here on Locked On Jaguars every day and on Locked On NFL twice a day. Tyler Rowland wakes you up like a double shot of espresso. His first story today, in fact, was about our Jaguars. And then I'll slide through in the barbershop. And we both use the help of local experts to have the pulse on the team, guys just like me from around our network. So you will enjoy it. Make sure you tap in wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you, man. 29 minutes here today. We do not take you for granted. We thank you for joining us always here on Locked On Jaguars, where it is your team every day.